Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are filming in 4K once again for the first time in a couple of years actually, because I've just upgraded my phone, Google Pixel time. So I hope that you guys enjoy these 4K and maybe we'll do some 8K reviews going forward as well. But yeah, for this first review then with my new phone, I thought that we would stick to Hong Kong and we'd return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel many times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last few years, a good few different styles, and if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they are very solid all round, but I would add to that this brewery really excels when it comes to the sour beers and wild ales. The stuff they produce there is absolutely great. They're widely regarded as one of the best producers in Asia in this particular style category, so if you like your sour beers, this is one brewery that I highly recommend that you check out. But the beer that we're going to have a look at in this video is from their more conventional side of things. At the time of filming, which is September 2025, it's one of their latest releases. I have actually tried this beer before on the launch day and I know that it's very, very good, but I'm looking forward to doing a proper sit-down review of this one for you. It's a style that this brewery do very well, and I think this is their best one in this style category yet. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to try this one again. Hopefully it's as good as I remember, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to the northwest of me here in Kowloon, up to the new territories, to a place called Kwai, Chung, and that happens to be home to the wonderful Yardley Brothers craft brewery. So yeah, this particular beer is called Sunglasses in the Rain. It comes in at 7% ABV, and this one is another New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, we've had some really nice beers in this style category from Yardley's over the last few years. Of course, the iconic one is the Voss Boss, which is their kind of core range New England hazy. I would really recommend you try that one out. That one's got a lovely kind of farmhousey and very juicy fruity character to it, and this one is a little bit different in its own right as well. But yeah, like I say, I know this beer is very good. I'm quite curious to see how the canned version differs from the tap version that I've tried already. But always nice to return to Yardley Brothers Brewery, and I'm sure we'll be reviewing more beers from these guys over the next wee while, so keep your eyes peeled for those. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Yardley Brothers Brewery before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future, as I said. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist along with other beers from the territory, and do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Yardley Brothers Brewery once again then. So, Yardley Brothers Brewery was founded by Luke and Duncan Yardley, and the brothers are half Scottish and half English. Their dad is from Dunfermline, which is actually very close to me. But Luke previously worked as a parts wholesaler, and he ended up staying in Hong Kong after meeting Girl, but that relationship didn't work out, and he married another girl a bit later on. But he and Duncan had homebrewed together at home, but then they took this up again when Duncan joined Luke in Hong Kong back in about 2014. And the main reason they started homebrewing together was they couldn't get the type of beer that they wanted to drink. If memory serves me correctly, both of them studied in the US, and so they were very familiar with the kind of American styles of craft beer. But the first brewery was in a small shack on Lamma Island, but in December of 2016 they opened a production brewery on the 5th floor of an industrial building where the rent was cheaper. And if you know anything about Hong Kong and property, you'll know that the rental prices here, even for industrial units, are absolutely horrendous. But apparently when they moved into this facility, the tanks wouldn't fit in the elevator, so 8 people had to actually push them up the stairs. And they stayed in this brewery for a number of years, and it was in the Kwai Chung area at the Wat Industrial Estate in Kwai Chung. in the Northern Territories, which, as I say, is just a little bit to the northwest of Kowloon. But these days they have 2 bars. There is the Beer Shack out on Lamma Island. It's not the original Beer Shack where they started brewing, and they've got a tap room on Peel Street in Central, which I think has been open for about 3, maybe 4 years at the point of filming. And in the last few years they've been working a lot on developing their barrel program, which they started back in 2018. But they moved to a new and larger brewery, still in the Kwai Chung area, in the new territories, of course, during 2023, and that significantly upped their output. But there was a lot of investment went into that facility, and if you go and visit it, it is pretty interesting actually. But these days the company is run by Luke. Duncan, I believe, left the company in the early days because he met a girl and then moved to France, and Luke runs the brewery along with his wife Ting Ting, who you'll find you'll find her at the tap room quite often, or at the Beer Shack out on Lamma Island. Very nice to talk to them both, lovely people. But in 2025 they launched their seltzers, which one of them is called Life Water and the other one is called Death Water. I'm not really into seltzer, but people have told me they are good, so go and check those out as well. And as of September 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 175 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. But yeah, like I said to you, these guys have won numerous awards for their sour beers, wild ales, whatever you want to call them, but they do some very solid kind of regular beers as well. For me, the Hong Kong Bastard is one that I really enjoy, and Voss Boss is probably the other one in the core range that I really like. Lamma Island IPA is great as well. Machine Men Pale Ale's very popular. The Lager is nice too, but yeah, Hong Kong Bastard and Voss Boss for me are the kind of go-tos, if you like. But yeah, as I say, that's everything I can really tell you about the brewery. So if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Untappd page as well to learn a wee bit more about all those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at this beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on the can then before we open this one up. The can is sweating a little bit because it is still very warm here in Hong Kong, but I'll just let you take a little look at that. When we actually got this, when we actually tried the beer at the launch night, we got this can for free, and we got a pair of sunglasses with bottle openers on them as well. But yeah, plain silver top on the can then. This one is 330 milliliters, of course, and it tells you a little bit about the beer on the back there. And of course, if we flip it over this way, there you can see Yardley Brothers Craft Brewery. I think I always call the videos Yardley Brothers Brewery, but I probably should call them Yardley Brothers Craft Brewery. But yeah, it says on the side here, it's been a long, lonely winter. It feels like years since it's been here. Open your eyes, strap on Daedalus wings, and lift off into the massive, this massive New England style IPA, marrying passion fruit, mango notes, and it's actually quite difficult to read this one just because of the text, and heliogazer triolized, heliogazer thiolized yeast, there we go, to the mango and pineapple of Azaka hops, big juicy cryocitra, and cascade and a late dry hop with superdelic to round it off. It's going to get stickier too. It's been a long hot summer. Don't try too hard to think. Don't think at all. Just drink up and enjoy. So yeah, quite there. But honestly, that text was bloody hard to read. I think they need to just stretch it out a wee bit, but or make it a bit thinner. But yeah, the hops in this one, of course, Azaka American hop, about 14% alpha acid. I remember it gives you quite a little bit of pineapple and quite a little bit of kind of tangerine orange, that one. Citra we know very well, 14% alpha acid. That's going to give you a lot of juicy mango in a hazy IPA. Cascade American, originally 8% alpha acid. It gives you this kind of oily, peary type note, but a lot of grapefruit, I would say. And then Superdelic is a New Zealand hop, which from what I remember, it can give you this sort of kind of melony and sort of candied red fruit kind of characteristic. I want to say it's about 15 or 16% alpha acid. But yeah, interesting blend of hops. And this one, as I say, this beer I know is pretty damn good. So let's get it out into the glass then and see what it's all about. I should point out as well that this one has lactose in it, so it's going to be a little bit creamier, but you do often, or you do fairly often, notice a bit of difference between the tap conditioning, or the keg conditioning I should say, and the can conditioned stuff from Yardleys, and I do find some of the beers I prefer on the tap, some of them I prefer on the keg. You just need to kind of see. But yeah, anyway, there we go. That's the beer out and into the glass. So yeah, before the head disappears on this one, you can see that it's poured with just a little bit over a third of a finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of creamy coloured head there. If we bring the glass up to the camera there, you can see some medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid there, a few more foamy ones the further up you go, but yeah, that head is just fading away to be a very kind of thin, foamy layer. But yeah, colour-wise, this one's actually a kind of pale sort of yellow colour, and I would say, yeah, I would always compare the different New England IPAs to fruit juices, because that really is just what they remind me of, but this one really does remind me quite a little bit of like a mixed pineapple and mango juice or something like that. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But yeah, you don't often have to hear about those latter two variables when it comes to the IPA style category. But yeah, looks pretty nice, as I say, like a pineapple mango sort of mixed tropical fruit juice, this one. But yeah, if we shine the light through this beer, it is actually pretty damn opaque. This one for me, as I say, it's 7%. For 7% ABV, I'd say this is one of the soupier and gloopier 7%ers that I've come across in recent times. So remember, the level of haze in these beers depends on oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer, if you like too. But there's not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. I can see some bubbles at the side of the glass there, a few kind of breaking their way up to the surface. But all in all, it looks pretty nice, this one, but nothing really kind of sticking to the glass in this beer, I would say. So yeah, looks the part of a New England hazy IPA. So I don't think we need to say anything else really about the appearance of this one. So let's go on and just have a little look at the aroma in this beer then. So quite curious about that. Oh, I'm going to say straight away, compared to the tap version, this one is it's smoother, and it's definitely a little bit oilier, I would say, as well. The Superdelic, for me, I don't know if it's just because I've had it a few times recently, but Superdelic is like a really obvious hop, actually. It's almost, you know, it's kind of like cashmere. For me, cashmere is so easy to detect, just because of that distinctive note. But yeah, the Superdelic in this one, with that kind of candied strawberry and like gooseberry note that it has, it really jumps out of the glass at you in this particular beer. Ooh, straight away. But yeah, this is that really makes the beer come across as being very sort of oily, smooth, and kind of creamy in a way, if you like. So yeah, as I've often said with my New England IPA reviews, for me there's sort of 6 elements to think about when it comes to the malty and yeasty side of these beers. So you've got the kind of farmhousey, yeasty type characteristics, you've got the kind of rye leaning grainy side of things as well, but those two elements are a little bit more common in New England brewed New England IPAs. But as the style has moved elsewhere and evolved and been developed, it's more about wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things as well. So yeah, for me, this beer comes across as being very kind of oaty leaning and very, very sort of creamy in its aroma. But yeah, and from what I remember, you do get a little bit more kind of wheat out of it in the flavour and things. But yeah, in the aroma, you're going to get more of the oatiness, if you like. But let's just break down that aroma and describe it for you more in depth. So we'll start with the malty side of the beer, as we always do. So if you sugar the beer up a little bit, you absolutely get a little bit of that kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. There's a good wee bit of like Jacob's cream cracker coming out of this one. So yeah, fresh white bready bread crust, a little bit of Jacob's cream cracker, wee bit of woodiness to the beer as well, a touch of like wholemeal brown bread, fluffy white bread on top of that, and then yeah, you can definitely get a little bit more of the kind of wheaty character coming out of this one. So at the back of the nose there's a wee bit more bitiness from the wheat, but you can absolutely smell a bit more of that kind of smooth and more dense white bready character coming out of the beer as well. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, after that you start to get the oats, And the oaty character in this beer is really quite interesting. It's very, very smooth and very, very kind of creamy in a way. It's actually a little bit like sweet porridge or something like that. But you get a little bit of like a Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch out of this one. But I think some of that is coming from the kind of phyalized yeast and the cryo hops and things like that have been used in here. It's very, very smooth. The malty backbone of this one actually comes across as quite sweet, if you like. In the back of the nose, you start to get these kind of Skittlesy type notes, and I'm guessing that's the thiols that are doing that. I do need to actually, I studied chemistry. I should go and actually do one of these kind of beer judge qualifications and actually look properly at the chemistry of beer and flavour chemistry and things. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, would be the way that all that kind of goes together in this beer, I think, is quite interesting. But definitely at the back of the nose, you're getting some sort of kind of Skittles-like aroma out of the beer. But the yeasty side of things, at the very back of the nose, then you absolutely get a little bit of like a more smooth, dense white bready character to it. There's also a little bit of an almost kind of like sponge cakey type thing, and a little bit of cracker and pardon me, a little bit of a kind of bread crusty character coming out of this one too. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really pretty nice in this one. So as I say, it gets a big thumbs up from me. The malty yeasty side of this beer is absolutely lovely. But yeah, let's go on to the hoppy side of things then. So yeah, when it comes to brewing an IPA, there are three types of hoppings that you can do. You can do early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour or so of your wort boil. That's responsible for the majority of your bitterness, and it gives you quite a deep, dank sort of green component. And yeah, you can do late addition hopping, which takes place within the latter half hour or so of your wort boil. A little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and it gives you a very bright green component. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that's all about flavour and aroma. So New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping, which is why they're softer and more juicy, whereas your West Coast IPAs use all three types, which is why they're deeper, oily, more dank and more bitter, of course. So yeah, when it comes to this one, the green component is actually really smooth, and this is the other thing. If you use cryo oils and stuff like this in your in the hopping of your beer, it's going to give you a lot more kind of smoothness. It's going to give you a completely different vibe to the pellets and things when it comes to actually hopping your beers, and you can smell that in this one. The cryo oil is quite obvious because your green component, while it's very bright, it's also quite smooth and really oily in a sense. So yeah, for me, there's a little tiny touch of earthiness in this one, but that's very, very minimal. Your green component is absolutely this big, oily, floral type thing, and yeah, you've got a lovely bit of grassiness around the kind of at the front of your nose as well. But yeah, the green component in this one is pretty damn interesting, I have to say. So yeah, aroma-wise, this beer is really quite interesting, actually. But yeah, let's focus on the fruity side of things. So yeah, as I said earlier, for me, the superdelic in this beer is like really very, very obvious. If you like, the first thing that comes out of this beer at you is like quite a little bit of gooseberry, then this kind of candied sort of strawberry, red curranty type note at the front of the nose. But underneath that, I think there's a fair little bit of like oily orange as well. That's going to be the Azaka, I think, that will give you a little bit of that. And behind that, yeah, there's big juicy mango, as you'd expect from the Citra, and then apricots, pineapple as well. Pineapple's going to be more Azaka, I think, than Citra. But yeah, you've got apricots, mangoes, pineapple, all of these sorts of things. So yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really quite nice in that sense. The fruity character's big, and yeah, the fruity character in this one's very big and oily. So yeah, lots of juicy mango, bit of passion fruit as well, pineapple, apricot, juicy orange, and then yeah, you've got that lovely kind of gooseberry and sort of candied strawberry note coming out of it too. So yeah, really interesting stuff actually, but there are definitely some differences between the canned version and the tapped version. I think the tapped version shows you a bit more of the kind of dry side of the barley malt bread and things like that. and I think there's a wee bit more floral character to the how do you say, the aroma on the tap version as well. But as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it, but I think it is about time that we try this one then and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Sunglasses in the Rain, a 7% double dry hop, New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA, 7% AVB, I think I said that, from the wonderful Yardley Brothers Brewery in Kwai, Chung, New Territories here in Hong Kong. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah. The canned version in this one, I would say, it's actually pretty similar to the tap version. Yeah, I'd say that. It definitely, the aroma wasn't making me think there was going to be too much wheat in this one, but it definitely has a bit more of the wheaty bitiness that I remember from the one on the tap, and it's showing you a little bit more of the barley malt as well. And the green component has a wee bit more bite to it as well in the can, I think, than on the tap. So there's a few subtle differences here, but this is one of the ones that I've had that the flavours come out in a more similar way to the two different kind of drinking mediums, if we can call it that. But again, this is a lovely, lovely beer from Yardley Brothers, and you know, Voss Boss for me is a classic, but every one that they release, they seem to be getting better and better at this style. So yeah, keep that in mind. Just, you know, pick a style of beer that you like from Yardley's and you will enjoy it. I really love the Bastard because it's an old school West Coast IPA, but the hazies are very, very good as well, and the sour beers are awesome. But yeah, let's focus on this one and break the flavour down for you and describe it a bit more in depth. So yeah, the backbone of this beer, you've got, if you go to that middle third of your palate then, you've got that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. And the way that that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. So fresh white bready bread crust in there. A little bit further forward on that middle third of your palate, you've got a little touch of woody character just coming out of the beer. There's some Jacob's cream cracker above that. Then you've got a layer of wholemeal brown bread, but quite minimal, I would say. Then you've got the fluffier and fresh white bready character coming out of this one, which I do really quite like. So yeah, fluffy, fresh white bready character in there. A little bit of, then you've got that more wheaty character sitting on top of that more dense wheaty white bread. And remember that sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. So yeah, further forward it's you know, quite a smooth white bready character that you've got out of it. And then yeah, further back on that middle third of your palate, it's got a little bit more kind of bitiness, I think. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I find in this one is really quite nice. But yeah, you can definitely feel the lactose in this one as well. So above the wheaty layer, you can feel that sort of the smoothing effect of the lactose in there, and then on top of that it's the oaty side of things. So down the middle line of your tongue, you've got that lovely kind of smooth creamy layer of oat. Then as you move out toward the edges of your palate, it's got a little bit of there's a little bit of dryness coming out of the oat. And as I've often said, oats can be a fairly decent indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is. Essentially, the creamier the oats are, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. But this one is very, very fresh, but there's still that little teeny touch of dryness from the oats at the edge of your palate there. But yeah, if you go to the dead centre of your palate there, you'll feel that little circle which has a wee bit of like Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of notes out of the beer. So yeah, you've got a lovely Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch coming out of the beer, and then kind of round the edge of that you've got more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity type quality. So you can feel that little bit of sweetness in there, and I think that does linger into the aftertaste a little bit, in all honesty. But yeah, the malty backbone on this one is quite nice, but I will say you get more of the wheaty bitiness coming out of the beer into the aftertaste. So yeah, that's the middle third of your palate in this one. But yeah, let's go to the back third of your palate then. As I've often said, the back third of your palate will give you very similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but just at different intensities. So yeah, border region between middle and back third of your palate. You get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base, the white bread from the barley malt in the middle, then the more dense, bitey, wheaty white bread on top, and then yeah, the base of the back third of your palate, fresh white bready bread crust in there, Jacob's cream cracker above that, wholemeal brown bread is the next layer up. It's a little bit lighter, fluffier, and more kind of airy if you like. Then yeah, the fresh, the white bread from the barley malt, I would say, is the next one up, and again a little bit lighter, drier, taller, more airy. Then you can feel the more dense wheaty character sitting on top of that. So yeah, you've got a little bit more of a kind of bitey, wheaty character coming out of the beer too. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really quite nice in this one. Yeah, the wheaty but bitey character kind of lingers there. And what I would say is, actually, on top of those layers, you can feel the lactose just sitting on top of that, and on top of that border region between middle and back third of your palate, you start to get some of that Skittlesy type flavour that you quite often get in some of these New England IPAs. So yeah, you can really feel that there. But then above everything else on the back third of your palate, you've got the yeasty side of the beer coming out. So for me, the yeasty side of this beer, it's you know, it really has at its core, it's got like a kind of more deeper, it's got like a slightly more kind of grainy wholemeal brown bread, then it's surrounded by a slightly denser and sweeter white bread, and then yeah, like a sweet bread crusty kind of character around the edge there, but it's kind of oily at the same time. So the yeasty character in this beer is actually pretty interesting. But definitely, yeah, back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of compresses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that all of that sort of pieces together in this one, I think, is really quite nice. But malty and yeasty side of this beer is really enjoyable. But that Skittlesy type character from the thiolized yeast, I'm guessing that's where it's coming from, is really interesting. But yeah, let's go on to the hoppy side of the beer then. So back corners of the palate, you do have a little bit of earthiness in there, and then as you move further forward along the sides of the palate, there's maybe a little touch of pine resin. I think that's going to be the cascade in there, but I would say that is quite a trace amount almost. But then yeah, as you move further forward along the kind of sides of the palate, you've got that nice floral aromaticity there. It's kind of slightly spicy as well. Then round the front curve of the tongue, the beer is definitely lighter and a little bit more kind of grassy and things. So there's a little touch of zestiness in there as well. So yeah, green component's interesting. So you can feel there's been pellets used in this, but I do think there's a little bit of kind of cryo oil and stuff like that as well. But let's go to the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things, to round off the flavour section of the video. So yeah, border region between front third and middle third of your palate. Again, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there, the kind of brown bread in the base, the fluffier white bread in the middle, then the wheaty character on top. Base of the front third of your palate again, white bready bread crust, cracker, brown bread, white bread, denser wheaty sort of thing, and then the smoother oats. Then above that, of course, you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So let's have a little look at that then. So yeah, the fruity side of the beer for me, it's kind of what I was expecting in some ways, but it's actually got a little bit more kind of sharpness and things to it as well. So if we go to the back of that front third of your palate, I think it's, yeah, if you go to the very back, there's a little touch of grapefruit there, which is going to be from the cascade. And as you move further forward from that, it's almost like passion fruit in the base, the big juicy mango from the citra sitting on top of that. Then above that, you've got a bit of like a guava peach sort of thing. And I'm trying to remember if that's something that Superdelic can give you as well. I think it might be, but yeah, there's definitely like a peachy guava type sharpness sitting above that juicy mango. Then as you move to the middle of the front third of your palate, like it's kind of apricot-y underneath, and then there's pineapple. Then yeah, there's like an almost gooseberry-like note, gooseberry sort of limey note. Yeah, it's more gooseberry-like a bit further back. As you reach the tip of the tongue, it's a bit more limey. So yeah, I think that's going to be from Superdelic as well. Then you can feel the kind of juicy orangey character from the Azaka. Then on top of that, there's that sort of red curranty, candied strawberry sort of thing from the Superdelic. Superdelic has quite a, it does have quite a variety of things going on in it. So I think, yeah, the peach, the guava, the sort of gooseberry, limey kind of character, then the candied strawberry type note that the beer has. I think that is all down to Superdelic. And yeah, I think Superdelic is going to be one of the more kind of potent hops that will be used going forward. It seems to be getting quite popular actually, so yeah, worth keeping an eye on, that's for sure. But the fruity side of this one is quite soft and juicy in a sense, but it's also quite slick and oily, so that's worth bearing in mind too. But I think we said everything we need to about the flavour of the beer, so let's round off the review with a wee look at the tasting then. So yeah, for me, the mouthfeel of this one, I would say this beer, it's kind of mid-body, but it's also kind of top end of mid-body. The carbonation is very, very smooth. This beer does give you a little bit of dryness into the aftertaste, but otherwise it's quite creamy in a sense because of the lactose, and it's also got a little touch of that oily slickness to it as well. I think this one feels as if it's slightly more bitter. It might just be because it's very, very fresh, but I want to say this one's maybe like 40 IBUs instead of the kind of standard 30. Could be wrong. Maybe if you let this beer sit and mellow out a wee bit. I always find, when these beers have been in the can about a month, that's when they're in the absolute prime, in honesty. So maybe this one is just a little touch fresh at the moment, but yeah, I think it's got a slightly higher IBU to it, maybe about 40. The malt base is a bit drier underneath, smoother in the middle, and a kind of creamy, slight sweetness on top of that. And then yeah, you've got a lovely fruitiness, like an oily, slick fruitiness out of it. So yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really quite nice. It's one of the kind of creamier and slightly more oily, fruity New England IPAs I've come across in recent times. I don't drink too many single New England IPAs these days either, so it's quite impressive that it stands out to me on that kind of level. But yeah, there are slight differences in between the canned version and the tap version as well. This one's got a bit more oiliness and creaminess to it, I think, than the tap version does. I think the tap version is a bit more bitey and its sweety character as well, although in fairness, this beer does build in that into the aftertaste too. But all in all, as I say, I think this is potentially the best hazy that I've had from Yardley Brothers yet, and that's not something I would say lightly, because I love Voss Boss, and the Who the Fuck is Brett, was that what it was called? The last one that they did was also pretty damn good too. So yeah, they really know what they're doing in this style, so I look forward to trying more from them going forward. But I think we can leave it at that for this one. So yeah, this one was the Sunglasses in the Rain, a 7% New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA from Yardley Brothers Brewery in Kwai, Chung, New Territories here in Hong Kong. Citra, Azaka, Cascade and Superdelic in this one. Really interesting beer. Give it a go and see what you think. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Yardley Brothers Brewery as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until the next time, check out my social media, check out Yardley Brothers social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very shortly. Ciao just now.